Ever since I played games like Portal, I've really enjoyed trekking through first-person puzzle games. They can be fun, from looking through the 3D environments to doing the actual puzzles. Today we're diving into a very colorful puzzle game I'd been eyeing on the eShop for quite a while, pretty much ever since it appeared on the Coming Soon section. Here is my review of Tobla: Divine Path for the Nintendo Switch. The story of this game revolves around you, a mortal, having been summoned into a constellation in space by a deity that calls herself the Mighty Tobla, an architect responsible for building puzzles and trials for the gods. You are tasked with navigating Tobla's design puzzles as a sort of test run before they're actually used. The story here is pretty basic, but it does get interesting as you go. Between each level, Tobla talks to you about what she does, previous puzzle commissions, and it's a neat little bit of filler dialogue as you go from one puzzle to the next. While there is a 180-degree turn that happens towards the end that felt kind of out of left field and not where the story seemed like it was heading to, I enjoyed this game's plot. When it comes to gameplay, this is a 3D puzzle game set in stages. As you go through each puzzle, you interact with movable objects, trying to get them onto pressure pads to open doors to the next area, eventually getting yourself to a portal to end the stage and move on to the next. Tobla on the Switch is the same as its PC counterpart. No differences or cut content, so let's get on to main progression. This is a fairly short and simple puzzle game consisting of 16 stages for you to solve. Within, you navigate a 3D area and need to move objects around in order to open doors and let you escape. It starts off simple. You jump across platforms to go from one area to the next and get a very standard cube puzzle. Pick up a cube and walk around with it Portal style, setting it down on a pressure pad to open a door and move on. After a while, you also obtain divine power, letting you teleport objects between one another, along with stone objects that are too heavy to lift, requiring you to move the black cube to where you need the stone objects to be and tagging them with magic to swap their positions. These are the only mechanics you get in the game, but you do have extra elements show up later in the form of different objects to move around. You have your normal black cubes and stone cubes, then you get colored electrical parts where you need to teleport a purple power source to a mechanism, powering an elevator or moving bridge, or swapping a cube on a downhill slope with a stone sphere to get it rolling and get it where it needs to go. And in the later areas, you also get bombs to blow up walls, but they only explode after their teleport number goes down to 0. The game does get a little bit more intricate towards the end of the game, having you needing to stop and think about how exactly you need to move things around to get your objects to where they need to be. The sphere puzzles, for example, sometimes need multiple teleports. You need a sphere to speed into a closed area with a large uphill ramp, so you need to teleport it onto a slope, let it pick up speed, and then teleport it back to the same slope to give it even more momentum to get it past the ramp and onto the pressure pad. And some of the final levels do make you really think about where you need to go and the timing for all of your teleports. I won't say this is a hard game, but it's not an easy game either. A lot of it is pretty simple, but there are some levels that really make you think. Thankfully, it is also mistake-friendly, as you'll typically always have a button you can press on a wall to reset the locations of your objects to essentially restart the puzzle without reloading it from the start menu. This is very convenient for the bomb puzzles since those objects can only be teleported so many times before they blow up. Now, as I went through these puzzles, I felt the system was pretty good. Sure, you've only got 2 mechanics to work with, but it works well with the game swapping around with the stone objects, electrical puzzles, and bombs. It also works with the fact that this is not a very long adventure. Tobla only has 16 levels for you to trek through, each of which won't take that long to figure out. If you're good at puzzle games, you could probably get through this game in just over an hour, while it took me closer to 2 hours to trek through. Considering this game is less than $10 even without being on sale, that's not a bad amount of content in length. Next up is presentation, which is pretty good. The game's visuals are well done. They may not be Game of the Year, but this isn't a huge AAA game and the Switch version looks clear and crisp. You can see some jaggies here and there on some of the models, but there's no blurring even in handheld mode. It's a very colorful and pretty game to trek through. Performance is good as well for the most part. The frame rate is silky smooth and quick outside of one specific puzzle area in level 9. When I'd been stuck on that puzzle for a while and walked around while holding the black cube, I got some small frame dips beneath 30 FPS. Though strangely, I have not had those issues with replaying the level later on. The frame rate will be a little finicky from time to time, but nothing like the first time I went through it. That brings us to battery life. Tobla will give the original and light models a battery range of about 3.5 to 4.5 hours, while the V2 and OLED models get 6 to 7 hours. In conclusion, Tobla is a cute and colorful little puzzle game about a mortal swapping cubes and spheres for an architect deity. Now, the downside, I wasn't a huge fan of the big story shift in the later levels, and there are some fidgety frame dips in level 9. But outside of that one area, this is a smooth and fun little puzzle game with a lot of colorful charm from the way it looks to the dialogue you get from Tobla herself. Reviews to go rates Tobla Divine Path for the Nintendo Switch an 8.5 out of 10. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave them below. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.